Hello friends, hope you are doing well. Welcome to another episode. Today we are going to learn how to develop a WordPress plugin. You know that there is a huge demand of WordPress developer around the web design industry. So if you learn this particular skill, then you will get opportunities. So here we are developing one development environment for a WordPress site. So I'm using Laravel that provides you the PHP, MySQL software and a server on your local machine for starting your WordPress development, and there is a quick link for installing in the WordPress. I hope you already know how to install WordPress, and for that you need to upload the files on your server, and after that connect to the database. There is a config file, wp config file. Here you can add the login password login, and here we are just setting up this as test site environment, the site name, username, password, and I am also adding my a test email ID here. Remember that this email ID is very important for recovering the site. In future, if you lost your username password, you can recover the username password using this email ID. So our test environment is ready. Just log into the admin area. And why you need a plugin? I know already you know that plugin adds additional feature to your WordPress site. So it is a package of code that contain some functions and that can easily activated on your WordPress site, and as a result, apart from the core feature, you can add new functions. So here we are updating the site version, and we are also checking the database. Our database username is root. Log into this database and just checking these number of files, a number of tables. At present the database has 12 tables, so we will create a plugin. That plugin will create new database table, and when you will deactivate this plugin, the plugin will remove that database table. So basically, as a developer, your main challenge is adding new table using plugin and then adding data in it. Okay, so here in this tutorial will not create a complete plugin, but the concept that will create that I will try to clear within 1 hour will definitely help you in developing plugin in future. I am cleaning the existing plugins. So here only Hello Dolly plugin is there. So WordPress has changed the editor. The editor feature is now changed. So let us remove the unused themes. That is good for keeping your site clean. Remove the unused themes and update your theme using the latest code that will keep the site clean. So we are talking about plugins. Plugins are the fundamental part of WordPress ecosystem, as they allow website owners and developer to add new feature and enhance the website behavior. As a result, you can use your WordPress site for different purpose, like you can use it as a database. So we are looking at the core files. So here in the wp config file, you get the database connection details like username, password. So when you are uploading your site, development site to server, you need to change these database credentials, and you can configure it on live server. But our today's topic is developing a new plugin. We are going to use WordPress plugin Boilerplate, that is providing you the structure of a or boilerplate of a plugin. So so that you can follow the standard of plugin development. There is some WordPress defined standard, and when you are using boilerplate generator, it is going to provide you this structure. Here in this boilerplate generator, I am adding the plugin name, slug name, and the URL. And one thing you have to remember here, when you are adding the slug name, do not use any gap between between the name. Like, try to use only one word for the slug, that will be helpful, or use hyphen. So here you can add the author name, email ID, and side by side you can also see how this plugin will look like when it will be installed in a particular WordPress site. So WordPress is a vast community of developers. You can create, you can find various ready to use plugin that you can install for your site. But as a developer, if you want to advance your career as a developer, you must need to know how to develop a custom plugin, what are the relevant function relevant to custom plugin. So our plugin is downloaded here, so we are going to copy that plugin file to our plugin folder, and then we will install it on our test environment. Here it is very essential to keep your plugin secured. When you use a plugin from an untrusted source, it can make your site vulnerable for virus or any kind of attack. So keep your site secured, and when you are developing a plugin, you also need to check whether your code is secured enough, whether anyone is capable to run these plugin files without any kind of restriction, and as a result it may causes some damage to your site. So keeping the security of the plugin is very important. While plugin are very useful part of site, you cannot run a site without any plugin, because if you remove all sort of plugin, your site will have pretty much very little amount of core feature. So here we are just cleaning the dashboard, and then our plugin is showing on this plugin page. And so dear friend, let's start the development. So we are going to open this plugin folder using our VS Code, and here we can see the structure. Let us take some time and examine the structure of the boilerplate. Here we are checking the Hello Dolly plugin. In a plugin you can see the plugin name, URL, description, author, version. These information are common in the header section. So our boilerplate has already added this code. You don't need to type this code, because when you are filling up this form during creating the boilerplate, actually this section is populated. So auto-generated code populated this section. So we can see the description here. Now let's go to the general section and let us change our URL. At present the URL are showing like 1, 2, 3. These are some best practices that you should follow when you are installing a WordPress site. So here we are making the post like user like SEO friendly. Instead of using 1, 2, 3, the post name will be displayed or post title will be displayed as a URL. So let's see how it is working. When we check this hello world URL, we see the URL is changed. Maybe this part is not visible here, but no problem. You can see the changes. So it is a pretty much simple development environment. Our main goal is to create a plugin. That plugin will add some additional function to the site, and clarifying the concept relevant to plugin development. That is the main goal of the tutorial, and I hope that if you watch this video till the end, you will get a better idea about plugin development, and based on that you can do further study on plugin development. First thing first is how to keep your plugin page secure. So here you can see the main plugin page is the GPM is plugin name. The gpm.php is the file that is associated with the plugin. Here in the hello Dolly, we can see hello.php is the main plugin page, and here some functions are written. The main function of the hello Dolly plugin, you have to understand how hello Dolly works, then you can go to the advanced stage. So here in this particular function, a poem is written. When you activate this hello Dolly plugin from the plugin section, it will shows that that particular poem on the top right corner of your admin dashboard, and it will randomly change. So here for just testing, if we just when this poem lines is displaying using our Chrome developer tool, we are just inspecting one particular line, and then we are trying to change its style. For example, I'm going to change the font size and the color. So say at present the font size is 12. We'll make this font size like 18, and we'll make the color red. So for that, when we are just inspecting one particular div and changing its CSS property, we see that this style of this output is changing. Why we are doing this? But because we want to make you confident that how the plugin file actually changing the feature associated with it. So actually plugin is adding a branch of code to your site, and it is adding additional function. So you have to follow some best practices. It is recommended that install the plugin that is coming from a secure source and it is compatible with your WordPress version, and that will keep your site bug free. So here we see that it is possible to change the style using this plugin file. This is just one page plugin, and the plugin that we are developing using the Boilerplate, it has also one main file and some associate file. This structure is divided into folder like admin, include, language, public. So the file associated with the admin area will be located on the admin folder. The file associated with the publicly accessible content will be located in the public folder. So you can go through the information that is displaying on the code as comment. That will be helpful for understanding. Here for just checking, I'm changing the description. Here I'm adding some more content, and let's see whether this description is changing or not. So just move to this plugin area, refresh this page, we can see this description is changing. So I'm increasing the font size a little bit so that you can view it in a better way. Now we need to change the author name, like here we can change the author name, and you can see the author name is changed here. Dear friend, for plugin understanding you need better understanding of PHP code, CSS, JavaScript. So here author URL is my my YouTube channel, and here if you want to change the version, then you have to change the version name in the area. So let us try to understand this particular code. If not define this folder, then die. Why this code is added? Suppose here I want to echo one particular like hello world. So that means if my plugin is activated, then this hello world code will be displayed when this plugin file is called. Okay, so here I am just writing a echo hello world statement and then saving this particular file. So if we directly access this plugin file from the URL, it will display the hello world statement. So let's go back to the address bar. I'm sorry that address bar is not displaying here. So I'm taking this path. This path, you can see this path will be located inside wp content / plugin / the folder name, and if we add these to our address bar, and here in address bar I'm adding this URL, just changing the and trying to access this. So it is displaying nothing. Why it is displaying nothing? Because there is an index file and that index file has nothing to display. So if we particularly try to access this plugin file, it is showing the hello world text. So you can see this little world word, and I am just adding 2023 here so that you can see it. Refresh 2023. Now you get some idea that this plugin file is capable to add some new output. Now what will happen if someone try to access your plugin file, and if he runs the PHP file, maybe that will create some error in your site. So here if we try to, here we are just checking that this version is not changed. If we change this defined value, we have to change this number on the version tag on the header section, then the version will change. If someone wants to access your plugin file, then how to restrict that person? So for that, not defined function is written here. If this file is called directly, then abort. So the main purpose of this if not defined function is to restrict other user accessing your plugin related file. So here we are just placing this code after that if statement, and let's see what happened. If we place this text after this if statement, then nothing is displayed, because this first if condition is restricting user accessing the file. So this line is very important. You can also add a comment in the line die function, like you cannot access this file. So you can add this type of comment, so that if somebody wants to access your code or access your file, those unauthorized access will be restricted. Okay, you cannot access this file. Now, dear friends, we understood that we have to keep our files, this plugin file, secured. That is very important. Now we are just checking this load wp load php file. This load php file actually decide which file will get priority during loading a site. So if this absolute path function actually deciding, first of all this load php file will be uploaded, so then function file will be uploaded, then this is the hierarchy how the files are uploaded. So when you are using this if condition in your plugin file, and when the load wp load file will be uploaded or will be run on the server, it will stop unauthorized access. So if someone asks you in interview when a WordPress site is started on the server, which particular file run first, then you can answer it the wp_load. Here we can redirect this person to the root URL. If someone try to access this plugin file, we can redirect him to the root URL using header location. So as I'm running this site on my local server, so it will redirect user to local host URL. So here we can also define a URL like /404 or /abcd. So just I'm going to test it right now. When I'm going to refresh the page, it is redirecting me to 404 page. Dear friend, so we understood how to restrict the folder of your plugin before starting the actual development. This is very important for the security purpose. Okay, otherwise if you write many code and you are not making this file secured, anybody can access it and it is not good for the security purpose. Now we will try to add some kind of short code using a plugin. So how to add a short code? I think you are already familiar with short code, like when some short code is placed on the text and that text like on the post, that post displays some important content. So most of the plugins use some shortcode, and using that shortcode the site owner can display some dynamic content. So here three functions are very important in a plugin development. It is register, deactivate, hook, three hooks actually. So what is register deactivation hook? You can get the documentation on WordPress. The beautiful part of WordPress is this documentation. You don't need to when you want to know something more about a particular function, the good news is that WordPress has a very elaborate documentation that shows example code. For here this register deactivation hook has two parameters, like one function call and the one file name. So here in this function related documentation, you will get more details about the activation function, activate plugin. So when you are activating this plugin, basically 3 major hook functions are associated with plugin development. So understanding register, activation hook, deactivation, uninstall is very important. Here we see the boilerplate has already provided that sample code in this structure. So boilerplate is just like an empty plugin where the necessary codes are already there. You need to add new code for adding this function. So here is the absolute file path. Actually here the files are added to the parameters. So here the activation GPM is our function. So we are adding some comment here, activate underscore GPM. GPM is our plugin name and it is a function name. So inside hook you add 2 parameters. One is underscore underscore file underscore underscore and the plugin and the function name. So the understanding the documentation of register activation hook and register deactivation hook is very important. So here you can see when this particular function is called, it is including the class underscore GPM activator. So it is inside the include folder. So when we are going to check this particular class, we see it is an empty class with a one function, one public static function called activate. So we'll add our code inside that function and again another function is deactivate underscore GPM. So it is another function. The function code is written at line number 58. So you can see that function is actually including another class, deactivate class. Deactivate class is also an empty class. So your boilerplate is providing you those chunks of code, and as a beginner developer you are getting this sample. Here we are looking at these hello PHP of Hello Dolly plugin once again, and here we see that this plugin has say 2, 3, 4 functions, and one function is for the lyrics, second function is Hello Dolly, which is randomly selecting one line, and here we see in our code there are some already existing hooks are there. So another very important file is uninstall.php. So uninstall.php is a default file in the boilerplate that actually fire when the plugin is uninstalled. So when you are uninstalling this plugin, this uninstall.php file will fire, and this is a method. There is another method of uninstalling the file, but this is a standard method, and this file is as coming from your boilerplate. Okay, so you will get documentation of the boilerplate in this GitHub repository, and it actually check if the $_request content is actually in the plugin name. It also runs an admin referrer and check to make sure it goes through authentication, and it also verified the output of $_get makes sense. So for better understanding, please read the comment section of the file, and that will give you a better idea. Basically, in the boilerplate you are getting a skeleton of the plugin. There are empty files, necessary files with necessary code, and you are adding new code for adding additional functions. So if you search the uninstall .php related documentation, you will find in the plugin handbook. If you Google search like plugin handbooks, you will get some documentation about that. So inside this you are getting a predefined WP uninstall plugin. So if uninstall is called, then this will be executed. So if you search on the WordPress documentation about this WP uninstall plugin parameter, you will get some documentation here. So you can search it in Google as well, and it is just taking a little bit of time. So here we get a nice documentation about Google, about plugin handbooks. There is a step-by-step process of learning how to develop a plugin. So just follow that documentation and you will get better idea. If you have basic WordPress development idea or PHP development idea, you can understand this documentation. This documentation is very nice for understanding what is hook, what is shortcode, and here we are talking about the uninstall method. So there are basically two methods available. Register uninstall hook is a hook, and otherwise you can use uninstall.php. So there are two options. One is here in this uninstall file, only these two lines codes are available and nothing. So here in this particular plugin, I think this plugin is using a hook, and the boilerplate that we are using, that is going to use the second method of uninstall.php file. Now dear friend, now you understood the utilization of the uninstall.php file and what are the additional features it is doing. So that basic understanding is very important. You need to clarify your concept relevant to plugin development, then you can do. Remember these three hooks. These are generally interview question. When you get a chance to prove your skill as a WordPress developer, you have to convince them you know how to use register, activation hook, then unregister activation. You need to know these three types of hooks. Okay, so let us work on the shortcode section. There are some default shortcodes available in WordPress like library, video, caption, gallery, video, caption. For example, gallery had some photo gallery, so video and audio. You can use this shortcode for embedding a video file or audio file. But here is the best practice of creating a basic shortcode. Apart from the default shortcode, if you want to create your own shortcode, then this documentation is helpful. Here you get a sample code, like first defining a function. Inside that function you are writing the logic about this function. Then you need an initiate function. So we are going to use a sample shortcode function here for showing the recent post. So here we are using the query of showing the most latest post title, and then only this function, and then using these two functions and an add action and add shortcode are two main function. So here we are calling the recent post function and trying to add one more shortcode using this sample pattern. So when you are getting some sample structure. You need to understand how it is working, and then based on that sample code you can add new features. So this is how generally developer works. Personally, I work like that, like when I am getting some very good structure of a code, then I try to understand it. So here we are trying to add one more shortcode, and we'll basically add two shortcode. So here register underscore shortcode is the function, and here we will add two code. So here you can see our first shortcode is displaying the latest post, and we are adding another shortcode for displaying a headline, hello shortcode. So you can see two actions are there and two shortcodes are registered and two functions are associated with that. You can pause this section and try to understand this code, try to digest this code, how it is working from a PHP developer point of view. I hope you can easily understand it, no problem. So basically here I am showing you how you can add shortcode using a plugin, and it will depend on your business logic, like what kind of feature you want to add using plugin. So this sample code is just showing you that how to add one shortcode using plugin. Depending on your requirement, you can add different logic inside this function. For example, in this recent post function is using the query and taking the latest post if there is a post and displaying the title of this post. So that is the main purpose of recent underscore post function, and it is displaying the hello world. We got an error here, let us try to fix it. So here in this example shortcode, we see that one shortcode is created that will display the wordpress.org link, and here is the add underscore shortcode function and add underscore action. These are two important function for adding the shortcode. Now I am comparing our code and the example code so that you can get a clear idea about this function. So here in this sample code you can see one function is first declared, and inside that you can write anything. So we are showing two functions. One function is very simple, just returning hello shortcode, and another is a little bit complex for querying these latest post. And then we are declaring another function for registering this shortcode, and inside registering this shortcode, add shortcode, we have added two shortcodes. One is headline underscore shortcode, another is recent post underscore function, and then we are adding an action, add underscore action. So this is how we added the shortcode. In the next phase we will discuss how to add a table, database table inside your code database installation using plugin. So if you can add a database, then you can also create a form for adding data to that table, and you can add, edit, delete the content. But here, as it is a very short tutorial, 1 hour tutorial, our main focus is to add a table using a function. So WordPress, for the three things you have to remember: write a PHP function that can create a table. Ensure that WordPress call that function and when the plugin is activated, and when the plugin is deactivated, it is removing these tables from the database. So here this documentation create table describe how to create table using a plugin. That means when you are activating this plugin, it is adding one table to the main database. Database is generally MySQL database or MariaDB database, and here in the wp-config.php file you get the details about the database, what is the name of the database, username, password, etc. So dear friend, here in this sample code we see a global variable $wpdb is used. So when you use this global wpdb variable, that file is actually connected to database. That means you don't need to concern about the database connection and connection related code, because this global $wpdb actually doing these tasks behind the scene. So your next step is to define your table. So we are going to do this in this class GPM activator. So our main plugin page contain the shortcode related code, and here we are adding a function first. So first name the function. We'll do this like an experiment and you will learn from this type of experiment. So we are first defining our function. So say it is gpm plugin underscore activation function, and here we are going to declare the variables, global variables. So our global variable is $wpdb, because that variable is actually helpful for the database connection. We are also declaring the table prefix. You know what is table prefix? When you install WordPress in a database, generally your database table may contradict with the existing existing table of the database. So that's why we use a prefix like wp underscore. You can use any other prefix during the installation. Installation screen allows you to add different prefix. Here by default you get wp underscore. So here we are just creating the MySQL code for creating the table. So say our table has say 4 or 5 field, say 5 field, name, email, and address. So we are adding this field. Our ID is an integer, our name is worker, 55 is the length, and then email is also worker, then contact is a numeric or worker, whatever you can place. So it is just for the tutorial, it will depend on your requirement. You can add many fields or just, so our ID is the primary key here. So this is the SQL code for creating table. So using myphp admin software you can create this MySQL code. Now we are going to store that SQL query in a variable called $SQL, and just pasting this code here. We need to clean that code a little bit depending on the, so here in this sample code you can also see that SQL is stored here. So based on that sample code we are just pasting that code, and now I'm wrap up this code so that you can view this. Now dear friend, we need a particular function. This function is dv delta. That dv delta function, here is the characteristic set. dv delta function actually run this SQL code. Character call it is a very important information about the database, what type of character set is used in the database. So basically you can dynamically set this character set in this particular statement, in this particular SQL statement. Otherwise you can use it like engine is equal to NODB if you do not want to use this dynamic character set, but it is better to use dynamic character set because it will when this plugin will be installed, it will take the character set according to the installation, according to the database character set call it. Anyway, here in the next two lines we see this upgrade, WP upgrade file is called for with required ones function. Here we are changing the database table name using some dynamic dollar WP underscore student. So we need a little bit of experiment here. So here, you know what, when you will install this plugin, the plugin will check whether the table is already exist. If table is not exist, then it is going to create this table. So that's why we need to add few more words after create table, if not exist. Then here we are adding this variable that is going to use this table name. Instead of using variable, we can also define a constraint for the variable name. Here try to understand what is db delta. I will get the documentation here in the developer resources. So db delta is useful for creating a new table and updating the existing table. So it is alternative of WP query. We'll use both the function db delta and WP query in this particular tutorial. So dear friend, you can use any of them, any of this function. Just here absolute path WP / include upgrade. So we are using this required ones line for a specific purpose, like when you are upgrading the WordPress site, these tables or the plugin, when you are upgrading the plugin, this WP upgrade line will call and it will update the table. So this is the understanding from the documentation. Now we need to change this code according to our requirement. That particular sample code study is giving us the idea how to use. So when we will run this plugin, like activate this plugin, our main goal is to add one table to the database. So here we are deactivating this plugin and it is taking a little bit of time. So deactivate this plugin, and here we are going to check our code a little bit. Okay, refreshing this page, it has not added the table. So maybe our code has a little bit of issue. So let us examine this code. Now it is activated and the table is not added. So I am just trying to, we'll see that at present we have 12 tables, and when we are activating this plugin we need to add one more table there. So better we change our code and let us try another function. So you can also use WP query function. Our main goal is like that. When we are activating this plugin, two tables are added, one or two tables are added to the main database, and when we are deactivating this plugin, the same tables are removed. We also want to add some sample data when the plugin is activated, and we also want to remove the data when it is deactivated. So here we have modified our code. So we are going to use this class WP activator function, and inside this class activator function, here we are changing our SQL code and then trying to activate this plugin. Now refresh this page. After activating this plugin, it is showing some error like this constant is not defined. Anyway, so this constant is actually storing the table name, so we are going to fix this error. So we'll define this particular constant or table name after declaring this global variable. So let us change this code. We are defining this table name using WP hyphen prefix arrow prefix. Now refreshing this page. So we see that we have defined the table name using two constant, one table for the school, another table for the student. Now refresh this page. We see the school table is added, but the student table is not added. Maybe there is some issue in the code. Let us try to fix this. We'll use the same variable SQL instead of using SQL2 for running this db delta. Okay, so you can run many SQL code using db delta in one file. So we are going to do that. Here, dear friends, I am trying to fix this code. Try to remember few important things that are very important for understanding how to start plugin. First is hook function. So register, deactivate hook, and activate hooks. Understanding these hooks are very important, because the first question the interviewer will ask you, what is hook function? WP hooks. What are the major hook functions in a plugin? Then this type of question you will face during an interview. So here we have updated our table for the student. So in WordPress, hooks are the mechanism that allows you to interact with the core themes and other plugins. Remember this point. So they provide you to execute, I repeat one more, in WordPress, hooks are the mechanisms that allow you to interact with the core themes and plugin. So here we are just adding one more data in the school and for preparing this SQL here. Remember that the hook provide a way to execute your custom code to specific points in the execution flow without modifying the core file. So hooks are categorized into two main types. One is action hooks, another is filter hooks. So this knowledge is very important for a WordPress plugin developer. Action hooks allow you to execute custom code at specific point in WordPress core themes and plugin. They do not return a value, they simply execute the code. And some major action hooks are init is init fires WordPress when finish loading, allow you to add custom initial code. WP underscore loaded fire after WordPress has fully loaded and all plugins are loaded. Then admin underscore init fire after all the hooks when admin underscore is initiated. So here we have fixed the SQL structure for the school. We are removing some unused code. So WP underscore NQ underscore script fire the script and styling that NQ'd for the front end. This is very important for adding the style to the front end. We'll discuss this in the next episode of plugin development, because it is a 1 hour long tutorial and it is difficult to cover so many things. So I think this tutorial is going to help you for understanding the basics of plugin development. So there are another action is WP head that fire the head section of HTML document. Then WP footer fire when footer of the HTML document is used. And then filter. So in filter hooks you get the content, the title, the expect title, and then accept length, excerpt, excerpt. Excerpt is useful for showing some content of the post. There are some custom hooks possible. Plugins and themes can define their own custom hooks, allowing the developer to extend functionality even further. Then the priority of the hooks. Hooks can have a priority associated with each, determined in order in which multiple function hooks to the same hook are executed. Lower number means less execute. Now we can see the tables are added. We are removing this table and want to test whether activation and deactivation is successfully adding the files and the data or not. So our code is now working. I'm going to activate this plugin and we can see I'm refreshing my PHP admin. 2 files are added and the data are not inserted in the school of table. So we need to work on the data. We need to use insert function, insert query, so that data can be inserted. So let us work on the insert. In the meantime, remember that shortcode are a specific type of action hook that allow you to define custom dynamic content that can be used in a post content, and for example gallery. And the remove hook is, again, you can remove a hook function using the remove underscore action and remove underscore filter function. Hooks are the fundamental concept of WordPress development. Allows you to customize and extend WordPress code, themes and plugins without modifying their original code. So here I am adding some sample data of a student and trying to prepare my SQL for the code. So that will give me a sample code how to insert a data. In the meantime, you need to remember some very important point. In any plugin you will find some major hooks like the register activation hook, register deactivate hook and uninstall related hook. So we are going to talk a little bit about register hook and what are the use of this hook. So here we see that our SQL query, insert SQL query, is just cleaning with the constraint. And in the meantime, I just want to share you the importance of register activation hook and deactivation hook. These two functions are used to execute custom code when a plugin is activated and deactivated respectively. So for understanding register activation hook, the function you have to check the documentation. For let us try to understand the use of register activation hook while I am just cleaning the SQL insert query here a little bit. The function is the register activation hook is used to register a callback function that will be executed when the plugin is activated. The register callback function is typically responsible for setting up initial plugin setting, then creating the database table, adding default option, and performing any other tasks that need to be done when the plugin is activated for the first time. So here we see two datas are inserted two datas are inserted, and when we are going to deactivate this, we want to remove that two data. So how to do this? If we want to remove these two table, we are going to use these 4 lines of code, basically a query for dropping these two table. So you can pause these and you can check this table, drop table if exist. So this query is running for dropping this two table. When you are deactivating this function, it is dropping this table. So basically the register underscore deactivate hook function is used for registering the callback function that will be executed when the plugin is deactivated, and the register callback function is responsible for cleaning up the database resources data, and that is modified with the help of this plugin. Sometimes when deactivate the plugin, the tables are empty and table remains there in the database. So here is a recap of the tutorial what we have done. We have worked on the register deactivate and register activate hooks. We have created 2 shortcodes, and these shortcodes you can see here. One shortcode is showing this title just for understanding how shortcode works, and another is showing the latest post title. And here we are going to add one more post and want to see whether it is dynamically showing whether our shortcode is working dynamically or not. So here you need to remember this common tasks performed in the deactivation function include removing the custom database table, deleting the option, and etc. So register activation hook, register deactivation hook, these 2 functions are very important for plugin developers. These hooks are used for ensuring your plugin setup and cleanup process is done properly. So here we see that 2 tables are inserted there, 2 shortcodes are inserted, and I think this understanding is helpful for further development. For example, in the next episode we'll try to add a form in the backend, and with that form we'll try to add some data to this table, and we'll see that how these tables are populated from the admin backend area in the future chapter. In the meantime, you do some study about hooks, how to use them. It is very important to know that the hooks are only executed when a plugin is activated and deactivated, and for modifying your plugin, understanding about the hooks are very important. Thank you so much for watching this video. See you guys in the next episode. I hope this video is helpful for you. If you like it, please share it with your friend and subscribe this channel for more updates like this. Thank you.